Hey everyone, we are back for another exciting rehearsal. This week, we are finally talking about bass drum. I've got the team from the SoCal Bass Camp here to talk about their recent, first-of-its-kind, independent bass drum clinic. We'll also figure out what made Woody say,
"Oh, I'm too much of a rebel. We tried. It was too much of a world change for them."
And why Dadisi said,
Like if you think you play like between wrist break and rotation, like you're really just not doing either.
All this and more, so get out on the field and we will see you back on the sidelines for this week's episode of On a Water Break.
8 off the mat and go.
Welcome to On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts.
Everyone, bring it in. It's time for a water break.
All right, welcome to another episode of Season 2 of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. I'm Steve McCarrick, and I'm really excited about this episode that we are about to record here in front of us. I first came across the team that we're going to meet today and their project on Instagram about a month or two ago, and I've been real excited to support their project, and we're going to learn more about it all together here in this episode. So I've got the brains behind the SoCal Bass Camp team here tonight to discuss their bass drum camp, and we're going to talk all about bass drum after. But before we meet them, let's see who we got on the sidelines this week. We've got Woody. How you doing, Woody?
I just recently started a new gig. Retired, and then a gig near the house came up.
They draw you right back.
Yeah, I took the band director job there, and
nice.
It's going to happen. They're going to be okay. They're going to be just getting young people to believe in themselves when all looks like it's going to fail. It can be a tough job, But
yeah, believe me, man. I was just telling you guys about my high school bass lines. It can be a tough job. Is exactly right. But we're happy to have you on, man. Thanks for coming along.
Man, I'm happy to be here, as usual.
Happy to have you. But Dadisi, my good friend Dadisi, thank you for joining the podcast. You informed me you actually haven't been on the show, but I could have swore that you were on this show before.
No.
So you're going to have to give us a 32 count life story. That way our audience can meet you and they can know kind of what brought you here today. So you ready? All right, you'll get 8 and in.
All right, my name is Dadisi. I'm 25. I did 3 years of DCA with Alliance, 2014 to 2016. I did 2 years with Phantom Regiment from 17 to 18, 3 years with Blue Coats, 19, 20, 21, 7 years with Atlantic West, 15 to 21, and aged out with Rhythm X in 2022.
Nice.
And I still play bass drum at the Commandant Zone, United States Marine Drum and Bugle Corps.
Sweet. Done one bar early too, just ahead of time.
Nice.
I think you neglected to mention that you also teach the bass drums at George Mason University.
Yes, I did. Yep. I missed a note. That's my bad.
An important other aspect of your continuing career as a bass drummer.
Blue Coat, you're not burying the lead, but yo.
This is why I always get silver medals.
Just a little ahead, but awesome, dude. I'm very happy that you're on the show. The second,
I'm happy to be here too.
Yeah, as soon as I was talking to our producer Jeremy about doing an episode all about bass drums, I was like, I need to get Dadisi in. I'm glad that you were down. But sweet. Let's meet the brains of the operation here. So, Matt, why don't you get us started and tell us, at least in 32 counts, a little bit about yourself. We're gonna have plenty more time later to talk about the bass camp. But you ready to get us up to speed?
Let's do it.
All right.
Hey, I'm Matt Walters. I go by Walt in the drum community. I'm from Southern California, born and raised. I did Mystical Drum and Bugle Corps. It was a Div 3 back in the day. I did Black Knights Winter Drumline in 06 and 07. Moved to Riverside, did the RCC Fall Marching Band 07 and 08. Ooh. I did RCC Winter 08, 9, 10, and 11. And I did Blue Devils in 08, 9, and 10.
Dang.
On the downbeat. Let's go.
Sweet. That's impressive, man. I some of those old RCC shows and RCC lines like set the trend of what the activity was going
Yeah,
to
those are good
become.
years.
Really, really cool years. We will come back to hear more about it in a little bit and to hear more about what you've gotten up to more recently. But before we do that, Caleb, let's also get to meet you. You ready to give us a 32 count life story?
Bring it on, dude. Let's go.
Let's go. 8 and in.
I'm starting on the downbeat right here, the downbeat of the 32 counts. I started at Mystical. I did 06, 07. I did Black Knights in 2007, the last year they existed, just like Matt Walters did. We split apart there. I went to Blue Coats. I did Blue Coats 9 and 10, where we got our first medal. I went to RCC, did RCC from 08 to 11. Another 3 silvers there. I went to Mandarins. I taught Mandarins in 13. I taught OCI for 3 years. Bronze and silver. Went to Academy in 15, Dark Sky from 15 to 19, Blue Stars from 16 to 19 and 24, and RCC 20 to 24. Damn.
Sounding like Busta Rhymes fitting that all into 32 counts.
You almost had it, dude. Almost had it.
I was so close, dude. I wasn't keeping track. I was just trying to go through and get the details.
Reset.
Yeah,
I'll get it next time. I'll get it.
It's a little slow at the beginning.
I was trying not to rush, all right? I know I can rush, but
Oh man, that's super impressive. Why don't you go back through the groups you were teaching a little bit, because there's a lot of heaters in there.
for sure. And I actually have a list. I'm cheating, so I'm not. This is not from memory. No, I got.
I don't think it's cheating that much if you've just done so much band that you need a list to go back through it all.
No, it's a lot.
It's more impressive.
I appreciate you for that. No, so I did Mandarins 13. I taught Mandarins 13. I taught Academy 15. I taught Blue Stars 16 through 19, and then last year 24. And then for winter, I taught OCI 12 through 14, Dark Sky 15 through 19, and then RCC 20 to 24. So,
wow,
I haven't missed a meeting since 07.
Whew. I was 9. That's awesome.
I auditioned for Blue Stars Baseline in 2016.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I was at the Atlanta camp. You might have been there.
I wasn't at the Atlanta camp. Damn. Sorry, man.
That's all good.
I bet you were great. I bet you were killing
it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think he figured it out. He wound up where he needed to be.
Yeah. We all go.
At least pretty close. Pretty close.
Oh, Steve, I think I'm going to have to take a Geritol pill, man. I'm listening to you guys throw these dates around. I'm like,
yeah, sometime we should have you do a 32 count life story again, just to refresh us on like, when were you marching, Woody?
Well, let's see. When was I marching? I marched.
Yeah, when was like your early days of marching?
My first year of marching was 1977. I finished in 83. I toured the Bridgman. I marched Bushwhackers after that, after the Bridgman thing folded. Yeah.
Let's go.
I guess 8, 9 years at Bush. And then
they should let you run Bush.
Huh?
I said they should let you run Bush.
Oh, I'm too much of a rebel. We tried. It was too much of a world change for them. You know, the Bushwhacker thing, they're not real big into. They're like old people. They don't like a lot of change all at once.
Yeah, it's tough in DCA. Maybe now that they moved it to Lucas Oil Stadium, they're ready for Woody to move in.
It was good though. You know, no one hated me. It just wasn't a good fit. You know, they brought me in as a program coordinator, and you know, I'm coming in. I'm all fired up from hanging out with you young guys, and I'm like, okay, let's set up for a third run through. A third run through. Yes. Oh, it was too much. Yeah.
Our third run through. I've got 2 kids and 3 jobs. Like that's the DCA experience.
But this is in the days when they didn't have as many young people in it as they do now. So it was a different experience. Much different experience.
Certainly. Well,
I enjoyed my time. Oh, how could I forget? I marched Black Watch, Drum and Bugle Corps. Yeah,
oh, nice.
I'm an East Coast kind of guy. Yeah.
I can't.
Why didn't I do the
When did
cross?
Blackwatch have a drum corps? How long ago was that?
Excuse me?
How long ago was the last time that Blackwatch even had a drum corps? It's been a long time.
1982?
Oh, God, it's been a long time.
Isn't BlackRock like a financial institution?
No, Blackwatch.
Oh, Blackwatch? Okay.
Yeah.
Watch.
I've never heard of them. My bad. That's
give it a couple of years, BlackRock will acquire.
That's why I work here at the on the water break, because I'm the historian.
Very important. All right. Well, speaking in the line of history, why don't we get into this news real quick before we get on to our conversations about the SoCal Bass Camp. All right, sweet. So not a lot of news. I'm really not trying to get it outside of percussion this week, but I really want to talk about, there's a couple changes up in DCI staff that just came out pretty recently, and they're finally confirmed. Big things changing. One thing that I see you Cali guys might have some thoughts on, John Mapes coming over to Mandarins. What do you guys think? I'm excited to see it. I think it's pretty... John Mapes has always brought such like a clean product to everything that he's been associated with. So I for one, am at least excited to see him back on the DCI field.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I'll be excited to see how like the existing staff and like the Box 6 crew kind of integrate and make something cool. Yeah, stoked to see it.
I have to shout out Connor Yasuda for this one, because he is moving from, I believe he's at Bluecoats, but he's moving from Bluecoats to Mandarins with Mapes and everybody to do the caption head battery manager stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm a big fan of Connor. So like, that's a cool change for me, man. I'm so happy for that dude. He does great work. You know,
Zach, right? Zach, the snare tech from Bluecoats, is going.
Yeah, he's not at Coats anymore.
Yeah, that would make too much sense.
Mandarins, I thought I might have inferred that from him leaving like the same time the Pulse guys get back into DCI.
That's cool though, because something that I've been thinking is interesting with Mandarins is like that they're getting so close to cracking into that like top end of the activity. So at the same time, like getting a staff that's more from like a top 3 drum line brought into that fold, it kind of maybe that gives you the leg up to really start to compete at that like top end level.
That's what I was sitting here thinking, like, wow, it's great to see the evolution of that drum corps, because they're moving along pretty smoothly. They're not stalling out. Sometimes you get to where they are and you just stall out and you never get past that 7th place, and then they die. And
yep, exactly.
It's really neat to see the evolution of their programming, the evolution of just the maturity of the drum corps is definitely coming forward. I dig that, their choice in staffing.
Yeah, their show this year was super cool.
Super cool, and that's why I think they are doing so well. It's like it's hard to get out like a 7-5 range, same in indoor, because a lot of times students will do a group around there and then they'll try to leave to go to their dream corps in the top 5. But I think the reason why Mandarins is so successful lately is that they do design like such cool shows. Like people really want to be a Mandarin because they know they're going to have an awesome summer. Like I wish that all the other designers in the activity would take a little note from that one and learn like the power of just making a very good show.
I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head, because like
historic fact,
they have to take a gamble. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Where does this one come up in history, Woody?
Let's go history.
Well, first off, when I used to do Jersey surf, we used to go head to head with Mandarins. They kicked the slop out of us, but that's okay. And they were Asian. They were all Asians. There was only one Caucasian man in the drum corps. It's like, wow, look at that. They were small though, but they were good then too. So it was always in them. They just didn't have everything in place. So it's very exciting to see that grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool to see the like a group like that actually start to really knock on the door of like meddling in something like that.
Yeah,
I will say
drumline was good last year too. Like, I think they could start contending for a Sanford within like the next 5 years if Mape stays there and they get like the sort of drummers they get at Pulse and teach them like they do.
I think you're right. But dude, it kind of makes me think of the other big staff switch up, which, if I'm being honest, is where I would have wanted John Mapes to wind up in a way. I think that if you had John Mapes and the kind of like Pulse work ethic and like approach to excellence at Carolina Crown, then I think you would have found like that East Coast blend that's kind of West Coast, but kind of is all about that like refinement that Crown achieves. I think missed opportunity, that would have been a really cool one in my opinion. But I also like the staff that is actually in over there. We've got, I think, Joe Hobbs and Cliff Walker, who seems like some of you guys might be a little more familiar with than me. Do you guys have any experience with them or lines they've been around?
I marched under Joe Coates, and he's really like got the blue collar work ethic. You know what I mean? Like he's down to just grind, and I'm super happy for him. Like, this is a big position for him, and I think he's going to do great.
That's awesome. That's what Crown is about. Like, my Crown experience was grinding. That's exactly what is perfect for that group. So I'm excited to see that one come through. And then the other sad one, the flip side of this Crown coin, as a bass drummer, I'm very sad about it, but no more Mike Jackson at Crown, which is just a bummer for me. Always been probably my favorite arranger in the last couple of years when it comes to bass drumming. So
it was shocking.
Yeah,
it is.
It was fast. So fast. I felt like it was a lot better year 2, in my opinion, than year 1. I felt like it was a lot cleaner. And, you know, they make decisions for whatever reasons they do. But I felt like Crown was on a path to a Sanford, too, if they just let it cook in the oven a little longer.
I feel like, you know, if we're going to be fair with a drum staff or like a brand new drum staff coming in, you have to do the same thing you would do at like a high school setting. Because, like, you know, we've all taken over some sort of high school drum line. We came in and we were the ones. Like, that first year you're there, you're working with the previous staff's seniors and juniors and all of their ideas. And then you graduate them, and then you're still working with those juniors that still want to, you know, like, this is what we did, this is what we should do. But the sophomores and freshmen are starting to soften up and starting to become more your type. And then as soon as those juniors get out there, that third year, that's yours. That's your drum line. Exactly. That's your vibe. That's your voice. Like, they're doing what you want them to do. So they didn't even get 3 years. I was kind of surprised about that. Like, they only got 2, and then, like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem fair, you know. But again, I have no idea how the inner workings of that relationship were. So
yeah, of course, you know, we don't get to see the logistics of how it was working out for them as a team. But I think that, like, even on the designer side, you take your first shot. Like, just trying to even imagine being Mike Jackson and writing for Broken City, and then it's like, I'm here with Michael Klesch and Matt Harloff, and it's like, you need to be in the Crown show now. It's like, it might take me a year or 2 to figure out my voice in the ensemble, you know? Like, it just, not my favorite decision. Mm-hmm.
That's a gear shifter. It's funny. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's funny because that whole subject you were talking about, I'm living that experience now, taking over this band program so late,
right,
and running into those very same things. You know, the older people not happy, some of the other people that don't know, and you know, I'm trying to explain to everyone, just gotta wait. It's not happening this year. Just go with it. And so I'm with you on that. And it's a shame that they couldn't wait it out like that. But most people, not everybody has that patience, or they don't look that far in the future. They want it now, you know. And
and
with this name comes a package, and some people expect it to just pop out box, just ready to go.
Yeah. Right. There are a lot of expectations, I'm sure, put on Mike when it's like, oh, this super interesting voice from indoor, come be at Crown. And if we're not winning drum trophies right away, what are you doing? It's not the same thing. But
yeah, right. I will say that on the other side of that, though, is that, like, coming from, you know, Dan and Travis and the way that Crown used to play, like, very, like, mathematical, just loud duper rolls, going to, like, probably like the most esoteric drumline writing you can find. You know, it was probably just, it's Mike Jackson's design is, it's the way that he's going to make it. And like, that is his style. He's so deep in it, and it's not bad, but it might not have been what Crown wanted, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you're right too. I think like groups in the top 5 are usually like focusing on a goal. Like, our goal is to win brass. Our goal is to win percussion. Our goal is to whatever. So I think at a group like Crown, it's hard if their goal is usually to win brass. I think that's always going to be Crown's goal. Dan and Travis's book and most of the Crown books over the years are really supportive of that goal. And I don't know that like Broken City's book is as like beneficial to brass being so well aligned, but
if you take the brass out of the equation, they had like the coolest percussion ensemble. Like, if you just listen to the perc ensemble, it's so cool, man. Like, undeniable cool. And just to throw a note, they had like the most hand-to-hands of any bass line at DCI this year.
Yes.
You know, for better or for worse, there was so many hand-to-hands.
I know
there's so many hand-to-hands.
I know there's way more nuance than this, but like they lost brass to Blue Coats, and what they do is like, that's it, fire the drum staff. Like, I know that's not how it went. I'm oversimplifying, but that's
kind of what I'm saying, though. I think it is a little bit kind of what goes on. But yeah, dude, the thing I love too about their writing, they have a part in their feature where they're just playing threes. It's just the top 3 playing threes. It's like and I thought it was so hot. Like, I was like, it's just threes, but they do it so well, and it's like written into this like 7/8 kind of rhythmic pattern. It's
that's good.
And if you ask me, that's probably why they were attracted to him, because he is a very thinner writer, you know? And so they're thinking, he's not going to be in the way of the horns. Yes, that's our guy, you know?
Yeah, okay.
But
look,
then,
I guess that makes sense.
We dig all the rhythmic exploration that it goes into. Horn players are really not into that so much. And can you like push that a little bit closer to the downbeat? Well, no.
Yeah.
You just want to keep doing the 3 strokes over and over again? Yeah, that's the beauty of it all.
Yeah, it's fat as hell.
Yeah. But, you know, be careful for what you wish for, you know?
If you need the shot on count 1 release, Mike might not be your guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I think you're right. And I guess it really probably is nothing more at its core than just a stylistic mismatch. But I hope he does get a good voice back in a drum corps sometime soon. Signed bass drummers everywhere. All right. On that note, let's pop over into this commercial break here. And when we get back, we're going to talk all about that SoCal Bass Camp.
Hey, this is Christine Ream.
And Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
All right, and we are back. And finally, after like what has felt to me like weeks of waiting, I've literally been like this excited to do this episode. We're going to hear about this SoCal Bass Camp. So, Matt, why don't you take it away? Tell us about the day and tell us kind of about what the camp's all about.
Yeah, so SoCal Bass Camp kind of got started as just an idea I had. I've been around bass drums forever. Since 2002, been playing and teaching bass drum. I've taught POW, Pulse, RCC, Broken City now. So I've been to all the clinics. I've been to all the, summer drum days, all the auditions, and everything was just always so snare focused. And, I hate seeing a bunch of bass drummers like standing there with their hands in their pockets while the snare drums get reps on eights. So I wanted to do our own thing that doesn't start with like, here's how you hold a stick. So I thought like, we have the people in SoCal. I have all my friends are bass drummers mostly, and they all live within like 100 miles of here. So we're really lucky to have that. And, I didn't want to do it with like the backing of a group or like make it, like Vic Firth presents Bass Camp. I wanted it to just be Bass Camp. And really it's SoCal Bass Camp because that's where I live, not to be like exclusionary or, make anyone feel left out, but that's where I live and that's where it happens. So that's what it is for now. We'll see. But I started out just talking to Caleb. Caleb and I marched a bunch together. So talked to Caleb like, hey, what do you think about this? And the first thing he said was like, yes, let's do it. Because even back in the day, we used to talk about like, man, if I hit the lotto, I would just pay for the RCC baseline to march every year. And they would be like the only section in the group that didn't have to pay. And I just thought like, dude, let's like do something for the community. So talked to Caleb. I met Jacob Wetzel this last year, tech at Pulse. He's super cool. Hit him up and he was super down. Just like, thank you for the opportunity. This sounds amazing. Hit up Joey Martinez. We marched together. He's the tech at Cavaliers. They had just won the Sanford when I was thinking about this. I talked to Richie Rodriguez at Vanguard. They just won the Sanford like in August at SCV. So he's an old student of mine. So that's kind of where it started, was just like, if we just have like 3 or 5 techs, it's cool. And then as I kept thinking about it, like, oh, maybe we'll have like 20 or 30 kids. And the Instagram kept growing and growing. And I was like, oh, maybe we could do like 50 kids. It ended up as 65 kids. So we had 11 staff. And those are the people that like teach at the groups, Broken City, Pulse, RCC, Blue Devils, SCV, all of that. And then we had 7 celebrity techs that are the people in those drum lines, like Kobe that did, I think, Blue Devils and Pulse, Zoe that did Blue Coats and RCC and Broken City, Bethany Betancourt that did Blue Coats and Broken City. Like I've either like taught or kind of know. Some of them I just like straight up hit up on Instagram and said like, hey, we're doing this thing. Are you interested? And every single person said like, let's do it.
Yeah, it was so cool to watch the rollout in that way too, because I don't know like where exactly along the way. You definitely were like already in your firestorm of announcing techs, I feel like, when I found the page. But I think even me and Dadisi texted about it at one point. We're like, dude, there's just like so many people involved in this thing. Like,
yeah, and that was
so cool.
That's kind of my idea for the draw, right? Like if it was just like me and Caleb, then like we could get some people, but it would have been a lot of like, all right, we'll have one baseline of 6 people and we'll just like rotate people in. But with 15, 18 techs, we can split up into as many drums as we have. So I hit up everyone. I hit up Pacific Crest, was nice enough to give us their drums. They had 2 sets of drums.
That's cool.
Dark Sky gave us their drums. Ayala, it was at Ayala High School, so Ayala lent us their drums. Seidel Entertainment, that does the Chargers drum line and the LA Kings drum line, they gave us their 10 drums. So I'm forgetting. Oh, Dan Wall at California Drum Shop gave us some drums. So we got drums from everywhere. And I just was driving around Friday afternoon with a U-Haul with like 30 drums in it. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Got there, got 65 kids registered, and I think we had 8 full bass lines. I could be wrong about that. It was 7 or 8 full bass lines going at once. Yeah. So all the techs could kind of choose like, all right, like you guys group up, go there. As long as there's like 1 tech, I think we had between like 1 and 3 techs at every bass line throughout the day. And it's just like, whatever the people in front of you want to play, like, let's play that. Like, do you see them and see that they need to work on like full strokes, downstrokes, and taps? Then cool, do that for a little bit. And we rotated techs, I think every hour or so, like every hour and a half, just to get like the most techs per person that we could. So that was really, really cool. And the feedback that I've gotten from the students so far, I'm still like collecting those surveys, but everything's been pretty positive. I think the hardest part was separating everyone because, you know, like, oh, we're like best friends that play bass 1 and 2, but there's not like a bass line for us. So trying to get everyone into bass lines without saying like, oh, these are the good kids, these are the bad kids, you know, whatever. Like no one wants to be put in a group that they don't want to drum in. So we just wanted it to be like open choice. Like if you want to be with this group, cool. If you don't have a group, like we'll put you with a group and you'll still get to play bass drum. So any day you're playing bass drum is a good day.
Agreed. That's a tricky problem to solve, though. I see what you're saying, because like on one hand, you want to give the students the opportunity to work on the skills that are right for their level. So in that regard, like you do want a little bit of like a stratification between like the lines in terms of experience. But at the same time, you definitely don't want to create that kind of like a audition environment where there's pressure and stuff like that. It kind of reminds me in some ways of an audition. It kind of does not remind me in a lot of ways of an audition. Is there any sort of compare and contrast since you've done so many auditions and you've done one clinic, kind of how it feels the same and different?
I would say it felt like an audition in the way that just like everyone's sitting on the floor with their pads at the beginning of the day, like everyone just showing up, drumming a little bit, that kind of like noisy cafeteria vibe. Everyone just kind of like checking out the drums, but I don't really think it had much like audition vibe. Once we started drumming, it was very like open, relaxed, like a lot of information being given out, a lot of like, okay, like, hold on, we started too fast, right? We started trying to play like Vanguard stick control, like let's take it back, let's play like some crescendo eights and like figure that out first, or like let's just work on like rebound strokes. So I don't know, I got to just walk around a lot, so just observing, you know, different techs do what they do and see like all the different things that people were playing. You know, we didn't have any expectation that people would show up knowing the packet that we put out. I wrote a packet, we wrote a packet, honestly, just to have stuff to play if people wanted to play that. If they didn't, cool. If you, as a tech, just say like, oh, I have this exercise that I like to do for this skill set. Cool, great, play it.
Yeah, that's so cool, because like something I've thought was valuable about my marching career was like being exposed to a lot of different instructors who had like different ways of teaching or different things that they focused on and prioritized, which like at the end of my career, I felt made me very well-rounded as a bass drummer. And it's like, you get to condense that into like a day for a 15-year-old who's like about to go down the path instead, and like expose them to all this different information, these like different styles of teaching, which kind of could inform and inspire where they want to go with their marching career. That's like a very cool idea. I really love everything about the idea. Why don't you take us through the day, I guess, from like beginning to end a little bit? I know you mentioned that it started off a little bit too quick, and I think I remember you mentioning earlier that there's a mega bass line at the end. So what's the progression from start to finish?
Sure. So the beginning, we did like introductions. Obviously, we had a million techs, so had to do like intros for everyone. Got to like give everyone their props and, you know, all of that. I definitely wanted to highlight all of those amazing bass drummers that teach. That's my favorite part of this, is like getting to say like, look at this person, look at these people, and how much they've accomplished and all these great bass lines they've taught. Like, so that was really cool. And then we split.
When he says he liked to introduce everybody, I swear to you, he introduced every single person. And you think about like 18 staff members standing there, and like however many there were of us. Like he went down the line. I didn't think he was.
He did down the lines.
Started on me. He kept going, and he just hit every single person and talked about every single person at the clinic. And I was like, this is cool. Like now they're getting to really know who these people are. And then like he did that. It was appreciated.
Did he have a list Did he have a list like you?
No. He was doing legitimately all his friends. And if they weren't his friend, he was like, "Wait, what'd you do? Wait, yeah, I just met you. Wait, what else did you do? Anything else?" Like it was really great. It was cool. Humble.
Yeah, so we got everyone's full bios out there. Didn't talk about jobs or real life at all.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I
think
did
there's
Odyssey,
enough bass drum.
Right. Yeah, pretty much bass drum is everyone's life that was there anyways, so that's what we focused on. And then after that, we just did some like health and safety stuff, water. It was so hot, man. I think it was like 102, 109 in Chino Hills that day. It was so hot, and we were super lucky to have like a cafeteria, multi-purpose room as like a home base for registration. We had like 2 nurses there.
Nice. Yeah.
So we had like plenty of like health and safety stuff. We had a sunscreen table, bug spray table, first aid kits and stuff. So that stuff was really important to me, that everyone like was safe because, I don't have the backing of like a big nonprofit that can kind of like shield from that.
Yeah.
So, like liability waivers and stuff like that were super, super important to me. So like, I'm not on the hook if like a bass drum falls on someone, but everyone was
that
really,
actually
really great.
Sounds like the huge undertaking that you don't want to think about when you have these sorts of ideas. Is like, what's the legal steps and like the logistics of getting the drums, getting the rehearsal space, doing everything it takes. I'm sure it was a huge undertaking just to like coordinate the event.
Yeah. We're super lucky. Darren Vanderpool, who's like the head of Ayala's percussion program, taught at Mandarins, did RCC with me. He runs Seidel Entertainment, does the Chargers drumline, the Kings drumline, other events. He works at Ayala. So I asked him like, hey, like, is that even a possibility? If not, like, I'll just go down the line. Like, I'm just going to ask everyone I know. He was the first person I asked. He's like, yeah, let me ask the band director. I'll let you know tonight. And at like 10 p.m., he texted me like, yep, good to go. So I was just like so fortunate on that end. Like he was there all day, like opening up bathrooms, hey, stay out of this area because like admin is on that side. And sometimes there are administrators on Saturday. So gave us all the like lowdown on the zones and everything. So that was super cool. And as far as like legal stuff and picking up drums, I would just like shoot awake in the middle of the night, like, oh, I need to do this because like I'm not a wedding coordinator or like I'm just a bass drummer, man. I just want to play upbeats, honestly. And so I would just like think of something and like write it down and then like, okay, I'll try to go back to sleep now. Then wake up the next morning like, all right, I've got to like do these liability waivers. I got to figure that out. All right, I got to start asking people about drums, just like one thing at a time was kind of my ethos. Is like, all right, I need to sell tickets so I can have money to buy merch. So I started selling tickets, and then after I sell X amount of tickets, I can buy some merch. After I, sell X plus 1 amount of tickets, just like one thing after another. I'm not a rich guy, so I wasn't like trying to put a ton of stuff on credit cards or anything. So I just sold like chunks of tickets, kind of like, I don't know, like Supreme does like Supreme drops. I did ticket drops. So it was like 20 tickets at a time, like Sunday at 10, 20 tickets are on sale. Get them if you can. And people ran. We sold out every ticket drop in like less than 8 hours. So that was super, super cool. Everyone was like really hungry for them. And that got the money coming in. So I could buy merch, buy, all the stuff that we needed, rent a U-Haul, all that kind of stuff that was needed.
That was a very intelligent way to do it. It's almost like you put like, I feel like it sounds bad to call it like a scarcity on it at first, but like you got to fill all of the spots that you could and get everything you needed done, and kind of grow it along the way because it kept looking like you want to be here. These tickets keep selling out. That's really smart. What was the time frame from when? Actually, go ahead, Woody.
Yeah, so, obviously, bass drumming is all about the family matter. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when bass drum lines are together, they're together. It's a much different thing than the rest of the drum line.
You're right.
What's the vibe like bringing so many people who have never played together before? And, was that spirit there? Because it was just all bass drummers, not having to stop for a mandatory snare sectional.
Hey, yo, okay. So Matt, when he did his introductions, he took care of that problem right at the front. Like, without having to worry about, like, hey, you got to pick your tech, you might not like them, kind of thing. No, he introduced everybody literally as friends and family. Like, he was like, these are my best friends. These are the people that I love, and I trust these people, and they're going to give good information. So, it seemed like everybody was just like, okay, cool. Then it seems like no matter where I go, we're going to have a good time, and we're going to drum together pretty well, and we're going to get info. So, like, it was kind of like he nipped it in the bud by presenting the right attitude to have in this. Like, this is not auditions. This is for you. This is to get better. And it felt weird.
Yeah, people be nervous like they're at an audition or whatever. You don't want that kind of vibe. You want the kids, you want the people to come in and say, hey, I'm ready to learn. Show me the goods.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have seen this. That's pretty cool. Steve, we got to do something here on the East Coast.
I know. I was going to say, you got to bring one out here. I'll connect you with a couple good bass techs.
The color guards out here in the Metro Philadelphia, New York area, they have spin clinics. So it's very similar. We just don't have
it's just never really been a thing.
I'm looking to you, Steve.
Matt, just hit me up. You know how to DM me. We can figure out how to do one out here.
Yeah, dude.
Steve and I were talking about this, and it's like, it's kind of it feels harder for the East Coast because it's so decentralized, right? Like, from New York to Florida, you've got bass drummers everywhere. Where like SoCal is like a really close, like, geographical place where there's a ton of people like all there to drum. So
I've always admired that about the whole California setup. Like, there's so much more camaraderie within your drum circle than here where Steve and I live. Like, we are competitive. Like, hi, I'm your friend sometimes. Bye.
That's only recently that you even would have ever described yourself as friends, even too. Like, until a couple of years ago, it would not have been so pleasant in any way.
Like when I used to talk to all the guys when I was deeply involved in the WGI thing, meeting all the guys from out west, that's all they ever talked about is like how they all hang, how they do this, how they all do this together. And like, we don't have that. No. And it's a lot, like you said, we're so spread out and decentralized that it's almost impossible. Like, how many people do you talk to all the time from George Mason?
Who, Steven?
I had one at RCC
it's
last
only
year.
Dadisi.
So I was working with a GMU. I was working with Ann Turner last year. So
okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if
That's really what it is. It's like we have like one person that gets out.
Yeah.
What's funny is that when I go to Mason, I just talk trash about Steve the whole time.
While at United, dude, we're working. So all the time we're talking trash, we're working.
We're having more fun though.
That's funny. I literally describe it to people as like a East Coast bass drum arms race between me and Dadisi. Just like, because at all times I'm telling them, I'm like, look, being better than Mason is a given. We need to like. I'm always concerned that the DC is chomping at my heels, but
I'm way past your heels, bud.
We'll see, my friend.
Way past your heels.
UP Bass got like 30 people coming out for auditions.
Nice.
We're ready to go.
All right.
But let's keep this one. We could do another episode about how United's better than Mason. That's a different.
Yeah, let's say that for next week.
Yeah, invite me back for that one. I want to be there for that.
But Matt, when did you first have this idea? Like, how long was the time frame from like I'm going to do this to we're at camp?
I made the Instagram. I looked it up July 15th, and the camp was September 7th. So like 7 weeks. I probably had the idea like a week before that. So probably like around 4th of July. Broken City had a summer clinic, and no hate on Broken City. That's not what this is at all. Just to preface that. But it was like one more of those clinics where like, I'm out there recruiting, like trying to get students to show up. And, I got a couple kids to show up, super excited, like high school students that were excited about Broken City. And then like the first half of the first block was just like watching a snare sectional again.
Yeah.
Which like, it's going to happen everywhere, right? And they didn't get, there was like,
snare sectional.
It was like 6 drums set up and like 14 kids. And it's like, you forget to say switch. And then like some of those kids don't like feel like getting up there because it does feel like so like, oh, if I don't show out right now, when I show up to auditions, they're gonna be like, oh no, that guy's not good. He didn't do well at the clinic.
Right.
So it was like some kids just like self-eliminate almost and say like, hey, come on, we're switching. Like, no, I'm good. And like, that breaks my heart, man. I want students to just like get time on a drum. I want them to have fun. And it's just like, even though it's like summer clinic, whatever, like auditions aren't for 3 months, it still felt that way. And I don't really know what the answer is to that, but that was like my fire. Like, okay, it's time to do this thing that's not affiliated with a group. There's no pressure. It's just going to be fun and like as many amazing bass techs as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an angle of it that I didn't even consider. That like, yeah, in any group affiliated environment, there's pressure that you're like you're basically always auditioning until you're contracted.
Yeah, you're trying to make a name for yourself, which is good. Like if you go to those things and you like show up and you're prepared and professional, like you can, make a name for yourself and like, oh, we need to watch out for that person next time they come. But that's not the most important thing about a summer clinic in my eyes. But as a student, I can definitely see like how that looks.
Right. So it's pretty cool, especially because like it opens the door too to younger people wanting to be involved. Because I think there's always some aspect with an audition clinic for a drumline where it's like, if you're not at the level to make the drumline, then you probably aren't going to go. This opens that experience, like because I also at the same time think like it's not until you're doing it in real life and you're like standing next to drumming with someone who's independent that like a high schooler is like, oh, okay, wait, you just like do it like that and it's better. I don't know. It seems like once you're there in real life, it always helps like students get to that next level. So opening the door to where it's like more comfortable for a younger student to go be in real life with like really well qualified bass tech and surrounded by other people that are really good at what they're doing is so cool, so far into what we do. And I want to wrap this, send it to a commercial in just a sec, but I was thinking of something a minute ago that I think is so cool. You guys officially set up the largest gathering of bass drummers probably in history. I don't think that there ever would have been a moment where there would be more bass drummers occupying the same space, especially in a higher concentration. So like pretty cool. Woody made me think that way when he said that bass drummers are always so like clicky and stuck to each other. It's like, wow, this is a giant gaggle of bass drummers that you put together.
With the 65 students, 18 techs. I'm not good at math. I just play bass drum, dude. 80 some. I mean,
yeah, it's like more than an indoor ensemble worth of strictly bass drummers. It's half a drum corps of strictly bass drummers. Awesome. So cool.
I will say, as a bass tech, when we were talking about like, everybody kind of being set up at the beginning or like sitting there in the room waiting for the whole thing to start, they're all drumming on their drum pads. Like we've all been to an audition before. We've all, worked with a group that was auditioning and that sound, like that hollow sound, everybody's drumming on stuff. And you looked over and there was a gaggle of people all drumming. And it was like, what did me, like, it was good for my heart to know that's all bass drummers. They're all bass drummers here. Like, we got some crazy looking left hands out there trying to play tradition, but like, as soon as it's like real
some
smart.
Of the ugliest left hands.
Awesome. Like, it was so funny, man. Like, it was a trip, because if I saw that many kids auditioning for bass drum, I'd be furious. I'd be like, no, half of you have to leave. There's no way you're all. But like, for a clinic, that was heartwarming, man.
Yeah, that's so cool. The whole story is very heartwarming as a bass drummer. I'm very happy that you guys did it. I feel like most of the sections of an entire drum corps should have an equivalent, like, honestly. But it's cool that it came out of bass drum first, to the extent that I'm aware of it, and I love the idea. So,
what are we doing?
What are we doing?
I never even
jungle
noticed.
beat.
Yeah, Josh Lada laying down those bass drums down there. I never even thought about it much till we've been talking about them. All right, I got the what are we doing to kick us off here, because this is one of the most fundamental things I've been asked about bass drum all the time: wrist break versus wrist rotation. In my opinion, there is no debate. I think that if you were to imagine yourself drumming on a flat surface, there is never a world where even a baby would consider drumming by like rotating their hand at the pad the way that you would a bass drum that you're playing sideways. There's nothing that's fundamentally different about drumming. It's the same physics. There is a little bit of a difference in that you're not interacting with gravity on the upstroke and the downstroke in the same way. But why would you alter everything about the muscle groups that you play with and do everything so inefficiently simply just cause? Just cause. I can end the sentence there. It's literally just cause. There's no good reason to do it. I think I will probably not be the minority opinion in this in this podcast call here. But what do you guys think on wrist break and rotation?
Well,
go for it.
Bueller.
I mean, okay, you were talking a little devil's advocate. You were talking about the fact that you don't have like the students aren't practicing. They're not getting the reps in that they need to get in. You know, like they say they're practicing for a half hour a day, but are they? What better way to give them free time to practice than to give them a technique that's the same as opening a door? All they got to do is just go places, and they're getting their practice in. See?
You're right.
That's good enough reason right there. Real world practice. Like, drumming isn't natural. Bass drumming's not natural. But if we can find something real in this world that they can attach to, like a doorknob.
Dude, check this out. I'm about to rotate.
With my younger students, I use that analogy all of the time. Hold your hand out. Grab the doorknob. Now, here's the problem. There are not many doorknobs around anymore.
See, you got to go to wrist break because there's not as many doorknobs.
And you know what you can do? You can knock on the door. That's the wrist break analogy I give all the time, baby. Knocking on the door.
I've done like a little like research, I guess, on this, just like trying to form some opinions. And the reason I think wrist break feels better just off the bat is because you're using like this wrist motion, right? And this is like a quick muscle, you know what I mean? Versus when you rotate, you're using your bicep, which is like a slower muscle. But there is research, like real medical research, that you can change, you know, the composition of your muscle fibers just with how you train. Which is why I think some people are really good at rotation. Like there's like 10 or 11 people that can do it really well. But just like off the bat, like you use, you know, your bicep to like carry groceries. Like that's why you're playing so hard into the drum when you rotate. And then you're using your wrists for like smaller things, you know, like writing like notes. That's just what I've gained.
That's very interesting to hear you guys all talk. Well, first off, you probably don't know, but I'm a little bit of a ringer. You know, I'm a mole. I'm a snare drum mole.
Oh, I see. In our call.
Flat in here right now. The's a flat in this room. Oh,
yeah, I don't mess with flats.
You let a flat.
That's allowed.
Oh. I just happen to be Steve's assistant, so and I was very excited about it because it's a very educational thing for me just to hear you. Believe it or not, I am pro bass drum. Very much so.
I would hope so.
So you're like a sleeper cell. We can leave you in a room full of snare drummers and you'll get them splitting.
Yeah, I am that guy because when I write, it starts from the bottom up. It really does.
As it should. As it should.
If that's not right, then people, they try to fix it with the wrong voices, and it's usually, well, it's because you got the bass drums in the wrong voicing order, going against the tenors in the wrong way, and you constantly keep trying to fix the tenors. It's not the tenors, you idiot. It's the bass drum.
Dude, Woody, being around here, there's like 2 or 3 people that can write for a bass line in our neck of the woods. It's crazy. It's really rough out here.
It's very interesting to hear you talk about the wrist break thing because I don't teach that at all. And like I said, I teach the kids there's nothing no different from this snare drum and that bass drum except for the playing changes. Nothing changes. And then I use the doorknob, and then when they don't quite get the doorknob, just follow your thumb to the head. Rotate. And they seem to get it very quickly. So I'm very interested to hear this is new information for me. You don't get this.
It's good information for you, though. Good information for you and snare drummers listening too, because the moral of the story is you teach it the same way. Like, you should try to get your bass drummers to have chops and be able to play fundamentally the same types of stuff. They don't maybe need the small finger skills in the same way, but like to get your bass line playing like even just good rolls would actually get them to be so good at just playing their threes in a way that like makes no sense, but I swear is true. They just need chops. That's all they need.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do that. I don't know why people do that. Why they even do it with front ensembles. Like, they act as though the front ensemble stroke is some kind of new foundational stroke that's different from the initial.
Yeah, right.
We all learn
physics changes over here if you're not on the field. If you're in front of the field, physics doesn't work the same over here.
So I'm very passionate. It's almost, I feel like I'm on an island by myself preaching, and they're like, he's crazy. I'm out on that medium strip. Please give cash to God. About how not to break your wrist, like you said. Don't stop. It's the same stroke. Doesn't matter what you play. Tambourine, snare drum, bass drum, it's the same stroke, people. Stop it.
Hey,
fundamentally the same stroke.
When I marched Coates, we had this Viz tech who just worked at the battery, and he was a bass tech. So I don't know why he wasn't the bass tech, right? But then, like, for a second, the main bass tech like took a couple of weeks off, and he came in, and like he was given information that like we all hadn't talked about, right? And like on one of the water breaks, I was like just chewing the fat with him, asking him some stuff, and he was like, oh yeah, like if I'm running a group, like if I'm running a drum line, and I'm the only one teaching the entire drum line, and I'm working with the snares and quads, like for bass drums, if it's like 4 freshmen who have no idea what to do with anything, I just tell them, hey, put the mallet right here, and you just tone it like this, and then everybody looks the same, and everybody sounds the same, because that's easy. But like knowing this guy, to me, it was like, you're not teaching that at all, nor did you march like that. Like, it's just crazy that he uses it more utilitarian than he does than as a future focus. Like, this is just to get everything working, to get everybody to play on the downbeat the same way with the same approach. And then if you start looking this way, you're going to want to play on a pad. You probably want to. So like he's kind of maybe creating more problems for the down the line kind of thing with those kids. But like I can understand, it being easy to see for a new set of eyes. Like when I was in high school, my bass tech did that. Like she was like, it was a little doorknobby. It was like, I feel like I started breaking my wrist just because like I wanted to play a flat drum. I wanted to play snare. I wanted to play something. You know what I mean? So I started playing on a pad. But like on bass drum, it was like, oh yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Sure, that's easy.
Right.
Like I also wasn't playing anything dedicated in high school. So like rebound might still be elusive, or like how you use the back of the hand with rotation. I'm not dead certain how that all works. You know what I'm saying? But like, I could understand why you would do it. I don't do it.
And I think the evidence kind of points to what Dadisi is saying. Like, you see the lines that rotate do have like that kind of a bigger muscle type of sound, where it's like the unisons and the fours are they're just bigger from those lines that rotate. So like
shout out Boston. Boston just like wails on those drums. And when they play those fours that like cranked past vertical, like those things are loud, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Mystique every year, in my opinion, Mystique has the best fours every year, and they just crank them the same exact way, and like they make it's just loud fours. Like they know their technique, and they pull the sound out. It's crazy.
So I guess different strokes for different folks, one might say. But
okay, one hill I'll definitely die on with technique is I cannot stand hybrid techniques. Like if you think you play like between wrist break and rotation, like you're really just not doing either. And it makes it really hard for the student to go to a different group that plays a dedicated technique. And even if they go to a group that plays hybrid, it might be a different definition of hybrid. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we need to stop doing that.
I agree, because I also think, like, especially like you're saying, if you go to a different group after, it's tough. But if you do like a hybrid thing for a couple years, maybe even just because your bass tech's not paying close enough attention, like you're going to develop like some weird muscles, and you're going to actually end up limited because you're not going to be using the correct like muscle groupings. You're probably going to max out on what you're even like that capable of doing. I don't know. I at least felt like for me back in my day when I was doing a bit more of a hybrid technique and I like was using more arm, for instance, like I was not able to play so fast because I never tried to play from just my wrist. And it wasn't until I had a bass tech that was really strict about it late in my career that I then developed the muscles. And then I got like tremendously more chops because I had these good big muscles and I developed these other ones. But if you're just like hanging out in between forever, I don't know if you're gonna you might hit some bottlenecks.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't believe there's that many people who teach this wrist break thing. I mean, moving the arm that way fights against the wrist. I mean,
hey man, like, okay. To be fair, there was I remember when I was auditioning some kids at the academy, right? And there was some kid that came out. And he was drumming fine, like in time wise, like his intro was pretty solid, but his hand, like it looked like the definition. Like that's how you rotate. That's how you do this. If you are trying not to break your wrists, you look like this guy. His hands in like a bass drum museum somewhere. Like I remember he was auditioning for us, and like I felt bad that we had to cut him because like his timing was money, but like I don't want to ruin those hands. Like, those hands aren't meant for me. They're meant for a group that does that, and he needs to make that. Like, he needed to go.
You're right.
Like,
you're very
you need to go to Madison. You need to go to like a group that feeds into that back then.
Yeah,
because I was like, yeah, I'll take you, and you can play bottom, but you're gonna feel bad, and you're never gonna look the same, and you're gonna work all summer to hate the way you feel. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I respect, especially if you know what you're doing.
That's the way to go about it. I mean, we all have our opinions on what we think it should be, but, you know, you always got to step back and say, well, that's the way you feel about it. But, you know, Louis Bellson is Louis Bellson and Buddy Rich is Buddy Rich. And neither of the two play the same. And there's going to be some things about one that you don't like about the other, you know. But
yeah, exactly. Different stylistic choices. And I do appreciate both of them. I came on a little strong in the beginning. I would never personally teach rotation to my students, but that's because I'm better at break. So there's that.
Yeah, people that are good at rotation are good at it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've hammered this one down to death for a while talking on the bass drum technique. Do we have any other what are we doings?
Yeah, I'll go. What are we doing overwriting all these bass breaks? Honestly, I'm a WGI guy. Like I prefer that to DCI. We can have that discussion another day. But you go around the lot at WGI, and there's some of these groups that just play so many notes, and I'm sure it is so cool, but I have no idea what you just played. And to me, there is no achievement without like execution. Like how do you give credit when you just go like, oh my god, like you just put threes on like a 220 sextuplet split or something? Like,
yeah,
let's just like leave a little bit of space, you know? Like it doesn't have to be the fastest crammed full of notes 2 bars that you've ever played in your life. Maybe there's like room for a knuckle shot in there. Maybe it just needs to be piku 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 at the end. What's wrong with some good old 4s? I know that like the 4s don't get all the claps anymore, but what's wrong with just ending on boom?
Well, dude, no, you say the 4s don't get the claps anymore, but that's just when people are thinking about it. Like, the 4s get the claps.
They always get it. Yes, they do.
Because they rip. Whenever, like, especially I feel like people that are marching age are talking about their music, they're like, just 4s. Just 3s. But all the people that are in front of the line watching and listening, it's like that's the coolest. Not the coolest, but that's some of the best sounding stuff that you can do on a bass.
Yes, sir.
It's just your 3s and your 4s and your 2s.
You know what? I don't know how you guys feel about this, but if you think back to when you were marching, especially outdoor, and you're walking up to the stadium and you just hear a bass line from inside the stadium that just rips some 3s and 4s. You're like, oh my God, who's that? Who's that?
Yeah, dude.
It's a fantastic sound.
One of my favorite things is being behind a drum corps. Like if you're about to go out in indie or something, because everyone else is facing the front, but the basses go both ways. So the bass line is like so readable from like 50 yards behind the corps. It's crazy.
Ooh, they're having a good show. Oh my God.
Yeah. I think one of the problems with like writing is that bass drummers are getting so deep into like theory and what you could possibly do. And then they start getting their arrangers to write like that. But there's like, when you do that, you leave out like musicality. You know what I mean? It's like, sure, you could possibly do this crazy split and you might hit it, but like, it doesn't sound good even when you do.
Yeah, like the 4th block bass line was at Bass Camp. They performed at the end of the night, and they don't play anything crazy, but they play it all so like crispy and on the grid. It's just like 16th notes and 4s and some hand-to-hands here and there, but it's just like so open and boomy, and they just play these like sick dotted 8th note patterns and stuff. Like it's all so clear and readable. It's just like so fun to listen to when you're like, wait, go back 5 seconds. What was that? What am I watching?
Yeah, one thing I really liked about the SoCal Bass Camp thing, like especially the lead up to it, was seeing all the different instructors and like the questionnaire that Walter sent to him, like, hey, what's your favorite WGI DCI? What's your drum to play? Blah blah blah, you know, all that stuff. Because like the last question was the best one, and it was like if all the kids at the clinic looked at these questions, they would know what we're talking about. And it was like, it said, what do you think is most important, or what do you think is something that you really cherish in bass drumming right now in this day and age? And I swear to you, and it's like in a very, like a few different words, everybody said the exact same thing. And that was, I just wish that like I could make sure that the beats were readable, it felt good, and the sounds were good. You know, I feel like a lot of people overwrite things. A lot of people want to cram as much in there, but like if it doesn't feel good, like I'm telling you, every tech said that, young, old, like doesn't matter. So we all know what we want to hear, but what people are trying to play is not always delivering on what we want to hear, you know. But that's kind of the selfish part about being a bass drummer, is you want to play stuff, but it's not the stuff that people always want to hear. It's the stuff that you want to play. You know, it's a tough call, you know.
I definitely think that's really tough for bass lines lately. I thought it was funny the way you were describing it earlier. I think it might have been Dadisi. It's almost like we spent too much time thinking about what we could play. We never considered if we should play. I'm right there with you. I hope that there's a return to form in a sense for bass drumming where we stop maybe. I think the hand-to-hand in the right context is very fundamental, very right, and it sounds so good that it shouldn't be cast aside. But I think maybe some of the other stuff, you got to question if the juice is worth the squeeze.
I want to hear cool stuff. Nobody get me wrong here. I want to hear the coolest stuff you've got.
But you should just do that in an I&E. That's my other quick. I don't want to make a full what are we doing out of this, but you could just write a lick and just play it and record it and put it out there.
That was going to be my what are we doing? Like,
perfect.
Where are the licks at? What happened to bass drum licks? You know what I mean? I'm still like writing and like I'm going to be playing another lick soon, and like I'm like 3 or 4 years out of the activity. You know, I'm just doing it for the love of the game because nobody else is.
For the love of the game.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, if you want to play all that crazy stuff, like write it for yourself and make a lick and then just show that you can do it.
Hey, but if we're going to play like meaty stuff, like I'm down with the densest, meatiest stuff. The one thing that I always ask, and this is why I walk away from a bass lot every time. I'll walk away from a bass lot so fast. It's not like over the dirty unisons or badly placed notes. If it doesn't feel like music, if it feels like 5 people trying to split each other and I can't like move to it, like I can't feel it, I don't want to be there, man. Like, because ultimately that's what we should be doing is playing music. You know, I tell every auditioning group, I told the SoCal Bass Camp, it's like, if what you're playing you can't dance to, what are you playing, man? Like you don't like what you're playing if you can't even move to it, you know? Like
yeah, dude.
I've seen amazing bass lines. Like I said, I haven't missed a Dayton since 07. Like, I've seen amazing bass lines in the lot, and a lot of them just don't groove. They just play. And it's,
dude, yeah. Dadisi, I'll tout your horn for this one. AQ's bass lines while you were there are some of my favorite bass lines ever, but also some of my favorite writing for how it did groove while also being such a great like demonstration of bass drum like excellence.
Yeah, you gotta, it takes like, it's like a puzzle, you know, like trying to make it groove and also play like some impressive splits that bass drummers are going to like. But once you like figure out the puzzle and get the pieces in the right place, it's same with Condado, the solo that me and Steven played. Like it grooves, but it's also really hard. And like, it's good, I think, for active members to try to write things like that because you learn a lot about bass drum in the process of doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that for a bass line, it's actually like the opposite of a snare line, where I think if you did it early enough in the season, it's actually like really useful work maybe for you to try to play an I&E that's harder than stuff you would write in the show. Like that's generally frowned upon in most environments to like have this superfluous music that we're going to play for no reason. But I think as a bass line, if you like learned how to play something that was really hard, now like when you just have a hand-to-hand at the end of your bass feature in the show, like you're actually going to be so well versed from going so far beyond that I think it would make you more consistent just at your hand-to-hands. Even that was my experience. I felt like at least like doing Condado with you, Dadisi, it was like my ex show music is so easy in comparison.
Yeah,
like just operating at a totally different level outside of rehearsal.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, but do we got any last what are we doings here, or do you guys want to pop over to the Gush and Goes? I think yeah, I'm thirsty. I agree. Let's get on over to it here.
Good old-fashioned Gush and Go for you.
I'll gush and go real quick for you guys that are new to the show, or for you guys on the call here that don't know it too well. It's just a quick chance to talk about something important to you, something you got going on. You got a minute or two to just spiel about it, whatever you'd like. I'm really excited for United auditions. I feel like I've got a million different things going on in my life with band right now. And I'm like kind of not excited about so much of the band because I'm doing too much of it, but not United auditions, man. I'm so excited. We've got like, probably expecting like 30 bass drummers to come out, something close to that, between the world group and the 2 group. It's just like, I was there back, that was the first indoor that I did back in 2017 and did it for 3 years. So like being back now on the staff side where the organization is so much bigger than it ever was, and the bass line is better than it ever was. And it's just like really cool. to be like, I'm not quite in the driver's seat. There's directors and people above me and all, but when it comes down to the bass line, like, I have a very large influence over something that's super important to me. So I'm very excited for it to get rolling again this season. It's just around the corner. But Woody, what do you want to gush and go on about?
Man, he doesn't even have to get the U-Haul truck and drive all around.
I know. I'm glad I don't have to do that for auditions now.
He missed that part. That was the part I had to do.
Oh. Thank you to the Woodies of the world that allow me to show up at 9 a.m. with a Dunkin' Donuts coffee and get to work.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I don't miss it. So, I guess what I'm excited for is it's actually, like I said, my marching band thing. Next week is their first competition. I have to tell you, I've been working on going national with my judging stuff. And
ooh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So this weekend I have my first U.S. bands assignment. So this is my first weekend out. Real excited about that.
Yeah.
I can remember being your age and saying I would never be a judge. I love it so much. I can't tell you. I love doing it. It's like a newfound excitement, and I've met some new people because I still work in my local circuit, but I moved and I now also do some U.S. bands also. And I'm meeting so many new people and so many new contacts. It's like just get you fired up about it again. So I can't wait to get out there and give a heck of a job. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, someone told me once they're like, the cool thing about judging is how you kind of get to like teach all the teachers in the area now, as you like adjudicate first, yes, but then you have critique after. And like, sure, some of these programs are really good, really well educated, but others of them have folks that are just like from their high school. And they graduated and now they're teaching. So it's like they need someone like Woody to tell them like, yeah, you need to go track the drum feature. You get to kind of just spread it around.
They say that I'm easy to talk to like that, and I do appreciate that. And on a side note, Steve, 2 weeks ago, I saw the Eagle drumline.
Yeah.
And
go birds, baby.
I just want to give them a shout out. It was so heartwarming. First off, there are so many.
Yeah. Dude, that was fun. I remember now. You saw us in the lot.
Yes, there are so many people in that drum line that my fingers have been on. You don't recognize it until they're all standing there. There's like 30 kids, and of the 30, they're like, "Hey, Woody." Hi.
Of the 30 kids, one of them's 50 years old.
So I just want to give a shout out to that, just in case your boys watch it. It was very heartwarming. Like, it made my day. That's the kind of thing that when you guys get this stuff right here, you'll look back and say, because some young guys will come up to you and say, "Matt, I remember the baseline SoCal camp. It was so awesome." It'll be heartwarming for you, man. It was great. Thank you, Steve.
Awesome. Yeah, that was super cool. I had a lot of fun when you came out and you saw us warming up. That was a blast, Woody. Dadisi, what do you want to gush and go on about this week?
I've got some projects that I'm working on. I'm trying to get my YouTube back up. You can find it, just my name, Dadisi. And I've got some things I'm planning on posting on Instagram as well, _downbeats_. Mainly for me, I'm not quite ready to like show it to the world yet, but some people know me from a packet that I made. It was about 26 pages called Knowing Bass Drum, like just all about bass drum. And I'm almost ready to publish the next edition of that. I'm not quite sure how it's going to look. It might split into 2 books, but it's like a lot of content about bass drum. So yeah, that should be coming in the next couple months. And you can just keep up with me on Instagram and YouTube until that happens.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, that's going to be a really, really cool resource, especially for the bass techs of the world, particularly those that haven't played a lot of bass drum themselves, or maybe just I'm just the battery guy at my local high school and I don't really know a lot about bass drum. Like, your book is going to be a game changer for that guy.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I wrote it, it was for students, but so many instructors were like, wow, this is incredible. Like, I really needed this information. So just as I've been like continuing to refine it, like I've had to keep that in mind that, like I was writing about like tuning and like what drum sizes you should use and muffling. Like, these are not things for the students, right? Like, this is stuff for the instructor. So yeah.
Yeah. Definitely keep an eye out for that one. I will do everything I can to blast that one over social media, just like I did with the Bass Camp. But that'll be cool once it's ready to go. Caleb, what do you want to gush and go on about?
I'm pretty easy, man. I've got a civilian job now, so like I don't do the hustle anymore. I don't have like 5 high schools that I teach, and the fall and the winter and the this and that. You know what I mean? Like I just teach RCC fall, RCC winter, and then I'm going back to Blue Stars, I think, this year, which is gonna be sweet. Awesome. Doing a little bit more time with them, but I'm really okay. When we were talking about like going to a new group and taking over and like, making sure that you're putting in your voice kind of thing. Like, I think I'm finally at RCC now. I think I'm finally moving into that place where I'm finally getting like vets that are coming back with the right motivation, wanting to do stuff. I'm finally starting to get like the people to buy into what I want to do and the way I want to operate as a bass tech. And like, I've got like staff with me that like are now backing me up on that kind of stuff. And it's like, I finally feel like I'm moving into like a place where I get to contribute, and I feel super honored about that at RCC. Cause like, it's not about me, it's about RCC always, you know what I mean? So like, if I can give back and sprinkle a little bit of that like magic that I got, dude, I'm gushing and going on about that because that's all I got. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. I know exactly what you mean. I feel the same way. It's like very, very fortunate to get to teach at a group like United or RCC, Mason, Broken City. Like, these are all, it's a joy to be in front of them and for them to actually listen back. Like, for them to be invested in it and really want to be there is awesome. So super cool. I'm excited to see what you guys get up to this winter. And then Matt, saving the grand one for last here. Thank you for coming on our show, and thank you for creating the Bass Camp as well. Yeah, it's such an awesome idea, such a good thing for the bass drum community. But what do you want to gush and go on about?
I've got a few, so I'm sorry. We talked about like who's writing the licks anymore. Like, why are there no bass licks? Marching Vlogs was at SoCal Bass Camp to capture some stuff. There's this lick Gonzaco from Adrian Gonzalez and Mako Williams that you have to see. This is the nastiest duet I've ever seen. No offense to Steven and Dadisi. I've seen yours. It's real cool. But this is the nastiest thing I've ever seen in my life, maybe.
No, dude, this is great news. Me and Dadisi used to talk and we're like, someone will one day make a lick that's harder and better and cleaner. And we're just like, how long? Who? When?
Yeah.
I would.
That's when we come out of retirement.
Dude,
they are them.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. Look forward to
when
it.
Marching Vlogs drops this video, you have to watch it. I have the sheets if you want to check it out. It's in the SoCal Bass Camp like Google Drive. It's called Gonzaco. Check it out. It's disgusting. Okay, awesome. Next thing I'm excited about is Broken City, year 2 for me. Getting more comfortable, kind of like getting to know the staff, having vets and stuff is going to be super cool. So that's always just a blast. I never marched like a Mike Jackson line when I was marching, so it's been different. And like we've talked about, your first year, you're just kind of like dipping your toes, don't want to rock the boat too much. But
yeah, right.
Going into year 2, I'm super excited to see what we can do. Going to have some new faces. Had 5 age outs of the 6 last year, so going to have a lot of new people. And just excited to see that. That's coming up this weekend, same weekend as RCC Impulse, this coming Saturday. What is that, the 13th? Something.
13th.
14th. 13th. So super excited about that. And then just wanted to shout out people at base camp one more time. One of the coolest things about it was once it started happening, I had friends that aren't in the activity anymore reach out to me saying that they wanted to be able to participate in some way. Like, how can I help? And we ended up taking in over $500 in just donations, which allowed us to give scholarships to 10 or 11 students completely free. All they had to do was send a DM and say, like, I would like a scholarship, please. I didn't make anyone write an essay or like jump through any hoops. All they had to do was like DM me and say, like, I would like a free base camp ticket, please. And they still had to like be there on ticket drop day and, you know, get registered. But we had a promo code for scholarships. So that just meant the world to me to like open it up. Marching is so expensive and auditions are this next weekend, like literally 7 days after base camp. So I didn't want anyone to say like, I want to go, but money's an issue, because I've been a broke 19-year-old. We all have, you know, and it just meant the world to me to be able to open base camp, you know, a little outside of financial barriers. And I think the more we can do that, the better it is for the community in total. You know, the more diverse people, the more different backgrounds we have, the better it's going to be, the cooler it's going to be, the more fun people we're going to have. So that was just like so special to me. And then I just have to, I have to just say thank you to everyone involved with base camp. My wife is amazing, supported me through all that. All the techs, all the people. We had friends that just like stopped by and would say like, what do you need? Do you want me to go buy a case of water, that weren't even participating? So just like that stuff was so special. The performers, Adrian and Mako doing their duet, fourth block music for coming out. They were amazing. That was one of the coolest live performances I've seen with bass drums. And who else? The RCC 2024 baseline did a performance. We're trying to make like a basic, if you will. If we can like get more and more like basic performances at base camp and just judge it like a slam dunk competition every year, like that's the future dreams. It's just like having a lot of fun. Someone else performed. Oh, like the POW baseline was there, and they just were like, "Oh yeah, we could play our solo." The gold baseline was there, and they're like, "Oh, can we like play a show chunk?" So like that stuff was so cool to me. Just like students saying like, "Hey, can we show off a little bit?" And the crowd just like went nuts, because it's not like WGI where like didn't hit the hand to hand. Like everyone just gave it up so hard for everyone's tries. Like everything was so cool. So really like
so positive.
I want to keep saying like a once in a lifetime thing. Like maybe we'll keep doing it. I hope we can keep doing it, but really like a lifetime capstone achievement for me. Just feel like so grateful. This whole week I've been like recovering and thanking people, and just like so special to me that the amount of support I got. And then like from bass, from Ben's, from marching vlogs, from fourth block, just like everyone I talked to, from Vic Firth, Vader. I had a friend just like send me a bunch of stuff that was in his garage to give out. So like, you know, the support I got from everyone was just amazing. So I cannot gush enough. I could go on for another 30 minutes about, you know, all the people that helped, but I run out of names. So I cannot gush enough about those people.
Yeah, dude, it's everyone supported you so much because it's such a good idea. And because it's like immediately the second I saw it, I was like, oh, that's awesome. This is a brilliant idea that, you know, I would love to see continue to happen. You know, I'm sure it was a massive undertaking. Don't know.
You got that right.
But whatever it takes, I think it's a cool thing to put out there in the world. We'll have to talk off air sometime. I'd love to try to do something like that on the East Coast.
Steve. But
we've got our own problems to figure out.
Yeah, and we are already cooking for the future. So stay tuned. You know, check out the Discord, check out the Instagram. There's more to come. This is not the end, and it's not even next year. We're already cooking on this next idea, next event. So stay tuned on Basecamp.
Sweet. Well, I will stay tuned. I'll also keep preaching the good word of the SoCal Bass Camp. But thank you all for coming on. Thank you, Woody. Thank you, Dadisi. Dadisi, where could our listeners follow you?
Follow me at _downbeats_.
Awesome. Woody, do you have a social media you would want to shout out?
Yes, I do. licksandkicks.com.
Awesome.
For all those who, my young writers out there, it's a website that young writers who, they want to sell their stuff, but they never get around to it or whatever. It's almost like a clearinghouse for you to be able to sell your stuff. It's coming slow, but it's coming along.
Awesome. No, that's cool too. That's a cool thing to keep on the grind with because it sounds like a cool service. Could you let us? What do you say?
It's not just like you have to be a big name. It's anybody because people write great music.
Yeah. Awesome. Can you remind us again where they could what the website address is?
Yeah, www.licksandkicks.com.
Awesome. licksandkicks.com. Check them out. Caleb, where could they find you or perhaps the lines you teach, whatever you want to?
I mean, the only place you're going to find me is on Instagram. Like I'm on Facebook, but I don't use that. I haven't checked in it. And my Instagram is Caleb Gas. So find me on there.
Caleb Gas. And then last but not least, Matt, where could they find you and the SoCal Bass Camp?
At SoCal Bass Camp on Instagram. I am not on Facebook because that's not where the people I'm trying to reach are. And then my personal is at Surfing Drums. You're going to be super disappointed if you try and follow me because I post like once a year on there. But on SoCal Bass Camp, I'll be, reposting videos, and I love like free packets. You might have noticed every time someone drops their like free packet for auditions, I'll repost that. So at SoCal Bass Camp.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely go give everyone a follow. You could follow me. I don't really consider it following me, but kind of follow me at _bass on Instagram. I mostly just try to be the center. I just try to share everyone's stuff and it's a big, big page with lots of people. It's a blast. Go check it out.
Bass.
So one other thing here, don't forget, we've got our YouTube channel now. It's got many of our interviews coming out in full video editions. You can go subscribe. That way you don't miss those interviews. And before you close out of your podcast listening app, go subscribe. Write us a review. Maybe write a review and say that you love hearing drum talk and bass drums especially, and that you want more drum conversations on the show. I would love nothing more than for you to review the show and say that. So share it with a friend, review us, follow us on social media at On a Water Break, and we will see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
Go practice.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Reams. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.